Section 1. The frigid Predon air bit at my exposed skin as I wrestled with the frozen driver's side door of my trusty, albeit aging, Toyota Tacoma, 5 o'clock a.m. on a Wednesday, and already this day was proving to be a challenge. A splash of lukewarm water, courtesy of my thermos, finally freed the door from its icy prison. This kind of cold was unusual for this part of the country. Even in four-wheel drive, my old truck felt skittish on the ice-laced dirt road, forcing me to keep my speed below 45. Every time the road straightened out, I'd push the pedal down, eager to make up for lost time. I had to reach my spot before sunrise. Years spent tracking deer through oak bottoms and across hard-packed sandy soil had made me overconfident. This frozen ground, with its crisp, clear tracks, felt like cheating. I could practically walk right up to a bedded buck. Almost. The crunchy snow underfoot would betray me for sure. Better to stick to the ambush plan. Besides, in these dense woods, a long shot was 80 yards, tops. Unless you were on a power line cut, your 30-30 wouldn't do you much good anyway. That's why I favored my 12 gauge over and under, with a 30-30 barrel stacked on top, buckshot in the bottom, slug in the top, and a quick flick of a switch to choose my weapon. Moving through the woods, I kept it flipped up, ready for close encounters. Forward for close, I muttered to myself, remembering the little mnemonic device I'd come up with. My feet, however, were starting to protest. A dull ache had blossomed into a throbbing pain, and I suspected they were worse than just cold. Damp socks, most likely. I wiggled my toes inside my boots, hoping to stimulate some blood flow. An hour after sunrise, the woods remained eerily silent. Then, a cacophony of barks and howls erupted, seemingly from right on top of me. Black and tan coonhounds, by the sound of it. I flipped a switch on my gun, anticipating a close-range encounter. Seconds later, a flurry of movement burst through the trees. 2 does, a yearling, and then a pack of 6 hounds. Hot on their trail, the last dog in the pack was comically short-legged, its body practically plowing a furrow through the snow. No dog hunting in this WMA, I grumbled to myself. This wasn't the first time I'd encountered dogs on public land where they were prohibited. Just my luck, I thought, as the sounds of the chase faded into the distance. My frozen feet, the icy roads, and now this. It was shaping up to be one of those days.
Alright, so picture this. I got this buddy, a character for sure, who's been known to carry a little can of black paint with him when he's out hunting. Now, you might ask, why black paint? Well, them hounds, they get excited, you see. Sometimes they'll come bounding right up to him, so close he's practically tripping over them. And being as they are mostly white, he'll just dab a little bit of that black paint right on their white spots. Says it helps him keep track. Can you imagine? Getting all the dogs rounded up at the end of the day, ready to head back, and suddenly you're staring at a dog you don't even recognize. Looks like a darn Dalmatian instead of your prize-winning blue tick. Or, if he's feeling particularly mischievous, he might swap a couple of the dog's collars around just to mess with their owners. See if anyone notices the difference. He's a card. That one. Now, it's almost evening, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones. Sun's starting to dip below the tree line, casting long, blue shadows across the snow. I gotta get a little fire going. My feet are so numb, I'm not even sure they're still attached down there. Feel like 2 blocks of ice. I know they're there, though, cause they're throbbing something fierce, a dull ache that's making my teeth chatter. Normally, I wouldn't even think about lighting a fire out here, not in my prime hunting spot. Wouldn't even take a leak, for that matter. Keep the place smelling natural, you know. But today's been a different kind of day. The squirrels are having a regular convention up in the trees, so loud it's like a Black Sabbath concert of rodents beating the woods to a pulp. Every few minutes, a big clump of snow comes crashing down from the branches, sounding like a darn avalanche. Ain't no way I'm detecting any subtle deer movements, not with all this racket. So I figure a little fire probably won't scare anything away that hasn't already been driven to the next county. Besides, I can't think straight with my toes froze solid like this. Gotta get them thawed out, or I'll be hobbling around like an old man all winter. I find a sheltered spot under a thick pine, scrape away some snow, and start gathering some kindling. The smell of damp wood and pine needles fills the air as I get the fire going. Small comfort, but it's something in the midst of this wild, freezing, and noisy day.
Pine sap has always been a constant companion on my hunts, tucked away in an old Altoids can like a little treasure chest. It's one of those things you don't think much about until you need it, then you realize it's worth more than gold. I keep it packed with chunks of golden sap, collected from old scars and pine trunks, along with a single paper towel folded neatly inside. That paper towel isn't just for looks, it's my fire starter, my kindling insurance when nature's against me. Today, that little tin saved me from what could have been a miserable, frozen evening. The snow was heavy, wet, and clinging to everything like it had a vendetta against dry wood. My Bic, down to its last wheezy sparks, wasn't doing me any favors either. Without the pine sap, I'd still be stomping around, cursing the cold and my luck. But with a dollop of that sap smeared onto the damp wood, it was like pouring lighter fluid onto the fire. The resin crackled and popped, throwing sparks as the flames grew, and before long, I had a steady, warming blaze going. The smell of the burning sap was sweet and earthy, a scent that instantly transported me back to the countless campfires of my past. There's something calming about it, like the woods themselves are lending you a hand, reminding you they've got your back when things get tough. For the first time all day, I could feel my toes again, a tingling ache that somehow felt more comforting than painful. I leaned in closer, letting the warmth seep into my fingers and thaw the stiffness in my joints. Can't beat pine sap, I muttered to no one in particular, watching the fire climb higher, a little victory against the elements. The small flame wasn't just heat, it was morale. Out here, that's worth everything. Remind me to tell my wife no more of those bargain bin water bottles. I swear, the crinkling sound of that cheap plastic echoes louder than a gunshot out here. Every time I shift my pack, it's like I'm announcing my location every deer in the county. If I had known it'd be this obnoxious, I would have just gone thirsty and left the thing at home. Next time, I'm grabbing something sturdy metal, or at least one of those heavy-duty Nalgene bottles. Lesson learned.
Enough lounging around, it's time to get my head back in the game. These deer aren't going to hunt themselves, and sitting by the fire won't put meat in the freezer. I packed up quickly, making sure the fire was out completely, then pulled out my compass. I checked the wind direction northwest.